Commerce County Council Candidate Forum. We do this traditionally every time there is an election. We are honored today to have all of these wonderful candidates here today. Well, almost all of the wonderful candidates here today. And I just want to say thank you for running. It takes a huge amount of effort. We appreciate what you do and so each of you candidates will have 2 minutes to respond to each question. You will also each have an opportunity to present a 2-minute opening statement and a 2-minute closing statement. And I could not decide what the best way was to decide who would go first. So I think we're just going to start at this end and let you each go. Do you mind timing for 2 minutes? And Sam will just raise her hand when she gets to 2 minutes. Please try and stick with the 2-minute guidelines. And we will go ahead and let our current council chair, Randall Righty, begin.
Okay.
Thank you.
So thank you, Rand and the Chamber, for again hosting this forum. It's been an honor and privilege to serve on the council for the last 4 years, and including the last 2 years as chair. So I'm running again because I feel like there's more work to do, and in particular in 4 areas: housing, local business, public health, and the environment. So on the housing issue, I think we've heard a lot about the need for additional new housing to support the workforce at Alamos. But there's also important to consider the people that already live here, including those that want to downsize, that are seniors, people that are looking for a place to live, that work for the schools, or people that work for businesses like yours in the community and can't afford to live in the county right now. So existing business owners are telling me the biggest issues they have are things like high rents, lack of infrastructure, and availability of workers, or any workers at all, most recently. I believe the county needs to prioritize addressing these issues, and I looked for the county to have a one-stop approach by working with collaborators like the Chamber for businesses that want to expand or relocate or start a new business in the community. So regarding public health, many people I've talked to have had concerns about the availability of various services, some of which are behavioral and mental health services for all ages, but also for women's health. For several years, the establishment of the Social Services Hub has been discussed. I think it's time to actually make this hub occur now, get this rolling. So some of you know, protecting the environment has been an issue, priority for me. It's not just preserving, protecting the environment based on the suggestions of our task force and our board, but it's also implementing the, I also keep a close eye on the, so it's 2 minutes already?
Yes.
Okay. So, my name is Randall Righty, and I ask for your vote for County Council. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Susie Havman, and I love that you're all here this morning. I think it shows you're civically engaged and you care about our community. And those are the reasons I'm seeking this office as well. And because I think thanks to my experience and background, I would add value as a county councilor. I grew up in White Rock and I graduated a Hilltopper. And after college and a great start with IBM in the Bay Area, Scott and I returned to raise our sons and to live, work, and play. And since returning, I've worn many different hats. As a parent and as a citizen volunteer, I've served on many different boards, committees, and task forces with the county, the schools, and regionally across the state. Just as a sampling, I served on the Environmental Sustainability Board, the Board of Directors of Quality New Mexico, and on the Business Advisory Board of Peak. I started and led a local group called Quality Team Los Alamos with about 50 small business owners and employees from the county, the schools, UNM, the hospital, and the laboratory, all focused on quality management and customer service. My local work experience has been equally diverse. I've worked for various small businesses. In fact, as a teenager, I worked for both movie theaters where I was part of the grand opening of Close Encounters of the Third Kind at El Centro. I worked at the pub, and I worked for Clement and Benner. Then as an adult, I've worked at the laboratory, the county, and as the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce, where I was an advocate for small businesses. I ran the Main Street and tourism programs, and I managed both visitor centers. And I also started the Chamber Fest and the Trick or Treat on Main Street events. As a longtime realtor, I learned a lot more about our town's strengths and weaknesses from the perspective of newcomers. While we face a myriad of challenges and opportunities, I'm focused on 4 topics: housing, small business support, good governance, and environmental sustainability. These are just my focus areas. I look forward to listening and learning from you. I'm Susie Havman, and I hope to earn your vote for County Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Chamber of Commerce, for giving the County Council candidates this opportunity to share our views. I'm Melanie Hand, and I was appointed to County Council about 10 months ago. I hope that citizens will view my experience as an asset to continue my work as a counselor. Not just my council experience, but my experience working at my husband's small business, manufacturing business, since January. It's Jonah Manufacturing. These are different times with new or exacerbated issues, and I have personally experienced the challenges of workforce, recruitment, and retention that businesses are facing today. Being the spouse of a business owner, I was impacted by long-term challenges to maintain a stable and successful business during the economic downturns that started 15 years ago. I gained a broader perspective of dozens of businesses supporting the lab through my 15 years of subcontractor performance oversight too. Since January, when I was appointed, I have been busy performing county council activities, receiving public input, working with about 8 assigned committees, task forces, and county boards. All the hours that I have invested during this time helped me to understand some complex issues facing the county. I have also learned how much the county is already progressing in many of the areas where citizens express needs. It isn't that citizen input has fallen on deaf ears. I believe that many of the needs we are still discussing have been progressing through planning and implementation stages at different rates. It is a slow process that we only notice here and there and when we're watching it day to day. In my opinion, developing a thriving community is achieved by finding balance. Citizen input is collected through a county survey every 2 years. I look forward to offering more details about my views on business issues in Los Alamos County as we proceed through this forum. Thank you. I'm Melanie Hand.
Thank you, Melanie. Teresa.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Teresa Cull. I'm running for County Council. I've been in Los Alamos for about 39 years. I worked at the laboratory for 37, retired about 2 years ago. I remember when there was a bowling alley. I remember when there was a movie theater. There's a lot of things about this town that were great in the past. Although the changes some have been good, some I'd like to see. We need to continue to move forward as a community in supporting small businesses. Housing is an issue. I agree with pretty much all of the previous candidates on their priorities. My priority is really to listen to the community, to small businesses, to try to understand what it is that you think we need. I've heard from several small businesses. I'll just give an example. One small business said, "Why do we do Friday night concerts? We're not open on Saturdays. It's better to do a Saturday night concert so that I'm not losing business on Fridays." But just little things like that that I want to take forward that may or may not be something that's good for everyone. But I'd like to hear from you, and I'd appreciate your vote so I have an opportunity to continue to help this community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I suggest that people have a chance to get coffee at this point?
You know what, why don't you folks all go ahead, give them just a minute, why don't we finish with our intros? As the coffee's ready, go ahead, but let's finish our intros first, and then we'll take a quick break. So Gary, go right ahead.
Good morning, I'm Gary Stradling. I'm also running for County Council. My focus is laser sharp. The issue, in my opinion, is demographics, and that means that the issue is housing. I have taken the liberty of drawing a chart here and I don't think this is going to shock any of you, but here is a chart of the number of people below a certain earning level up to $200,000. You see that in New Mexico, you have this number of people below these income levels. In Los Alamos, the demographic looks like this, and that means that in Los Alamos, we're missing this segment of the population. And it's worse than that because the folks who are in this segment, most of them are not working for businesses in the county. They're working for the laboratory. That really is a critical thing for us to be able to have the dynamic businesses that we need in the county, to be able to have the full spectrum of businesses. And in terms of history, if you look at a different chart which shows the number of people in each of these earning segments, in the last years, we have lost people in the lower segment, and the upper segment used to come down here, and it's gone up there. So we've gained people in the high end, we've lost people in the low end. That doesn't shock any of you, but the fact that we have supply issues and business issues is really a critical thing for us. Now, when I came in this morning, Anthony Gregorio said, Gary, we've done that. I've been on the council. We go up there every year for 4 years. We mention land, and they don't do anything. And so my point is that we're not doing it the right way. We have to do it, but not the way that we've done it in the past. When I was the Angel Fire Program leader at Los Alamos, I was in Washington every week knocking on doors. I'm Gary Stradling. I hope for your vote for county council.
Thank you, Jerry. Sharon?
Hey, good morning, everyone, and thank you guys so much, Chamber of Commerce, for doing this for us. I have met during my campaign, I met with the Chamber of Commerce and learned so many of the things that they're doing for our community, and I'm very impressed and very glad to know that.
Thank
and I
you.
hope to work with you more
Thank
as
you.
we progress through county council. I'm also focused on business. I know that everything that these are all issues that we all care about. I was born and raised here in Los Alamos, and there are 4 generations of my family still living here. So I have grandkids in the schools, every single one of them. I have one in college. And I've been through all of Los Alamos schools. I have also seen, just like everyone has said, how our town has been a booming community where we've had 2 bowling alleys at one time, we had 2 movie theaters at one time, and so small business, I'd really like to find ways that we can encourage more of them to come in, make it easier for them to open businesses and help them to stay. So I appreciate everything that you guys have, and I feel like that we need to hear from you, just like you were saying, Teresa, that we need to. I want to know, I'm not on this for me, I want to run this to take care of our community. I feel like I owe it to my grandkids to know what's going on in the community and make it a place that we all want to live. Make it so that we can. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Sharon. And James?
All right. So hi, I'm James Warnicki. I think the first thing I want to say is thank you to all of you small businesses for sticking it out here. You must really love Los Alamos, because I know this is a tough town to make it in. So thank you for being here. Florida Lee leaving was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back for me and got me to run. I just really want to see our small businesses growing. So about me, I raising a young family, doing the lab thing, so I'm really interested in seeing more things for kids to do here. I'm involved in a lot of community activities, so I do trail maintenance, I do a programming club, I do youth rugby, bike patrol, I'm on the personnel board. I'm very open-minded and eager to change. I know we're kind of a risk-averse community, and I'm hoping to, be kind of to push against that and try and do new ideas. I come in with libertarian principles. So basically, I think government should kind of let you do what you want as long as you're not hurting other people. The biggest issue, or the biggest thing that being on council I think I could do for small businesses is addressing the accountability issue. What happened on court, I don't think should ever happen again. And I know it's happened to other people. It's just on court, they were the ones that spoke up about it. So increasing transparency and accountability within the county, making sure that we're not putting up unnecessary barriers to businesses and making it more difficult than it already is in this town. I think one thing we can do is end the closed sessions for anything that isn't a personal privacy issue. At the very least, minutes need to be more detailed in those meetings. So just more openness, more transparency. And I can go on about a lot of other businesses, but I have no time. Thanks, guys.
Great. We'll go ahead and get going, guys. The topics were given out to the candidates ahead of time, and the first topic is regarding workforce in Los Alamos. Other than affordable housing, what do you see as the biggest challenge to recruiting a consistent workforce to the Los Alamos business community? And how do you plan to help address this issue as a counselor? And if you would please stand up.
Other than affordable housing, right? Well, that is probably the biggest thing.
It is,
So-
we all agree on that.
I get 2 minutes? Or?
2 minutes.
All right, so as well as affordable housing, you need things that make it livable for people here. So you need things to do, right? It's with a family, it's like you have to go to Santa Fe or Albuquerque half the time to go to do things. So in addition to housing, just more things to do. And I think, we have this sort of chicken and egg problem of we need more workers to have more businesses, but we need somewhere for them to live as well. And yeah, it's a hard problem. We need to build housing. When we build housing, we'll have workers, and that will help us to have more businesses and more things to do. And then we kind of get into this feedback loop of making this town better. So, basically focusing on growth is what we need to do. I think what we're doing with the development code updates, making it easier for developers to come in, develop, build up, because we can't really build out here. And focusing on that growth, I think, is how we're going to be able to attract a better workforce. I can certainly say from my experience working at the lab that retaining new early career folks is really difficult because we can recruit great talent from Boston, but then they get here and it's this culture shock of there's nothing to do, and it's like, well, you have to go to Santa Fe, and they get to Santa Fe, and it's like, oh, well, everyone down here is 55 and older, so then they have to go to Albuquerque, and then they're like, you know what, I'm just going to go move to Denver. So, yes, we need to make this place more attractive by having more things to do.
Thank you very much.
I believe, what, our town, of course, is very unique in that, like Gary showed, our income levels relatively high, but there's a lot that are not. And I feel like that a healthy town would have a wide range of income levels, which I know we do, but there are many empty jobs for skilled labor, plumbers, electricians, pipe fitters. And so if we could enhance worker participation in some of these other areas. For example, I know Espanola Community College has trades programs, but they can't take as many people as them to take them. For example, they recently had a nursing program, 200 applied, and they could only take 100 applicants. And I think maybe we could work with the state and UNM to provide more technical degrees so that we could actually, keep people here and also give them something besides to work at the lab. Also the high school, I would like to, a lot of our high school students don't work, and I think that our, you know, our service, we have service industries, we have, you know, the restaurants where we all would like to go, but we can't, they don't all have people to work there, and a lot of those are unskilled labor. And when I was in school, we had work-study programs, where kids in high school could actually work during school time and get credit toward their school. And so perhaps we could do something like that where we could get more people into the workforce earlier. I think also if we could make it easier for some of the businesses to stay in the county, there would be more jobs for people to take. And that would make it easier for businesses. If we could keep businesses to remain open, there would be more jobs.
Thank you, Sharon. Gary?
Thank you for asking the question. I'm sorry, Ren, for the way that you asked it, because it's an incorrect question. There is no way to have the workers you need without addressing the housing. The housing is the core. You could put you could put barracks up here and hire Filipinos to come work.
Really?
But that's stupid. We have people here. We have a lot of plans. The solution is to have people who are in New Mexico come live here and work here. We have about 12,000 people commute into the county every day. That's a lot of people. That's not new. We've had 8,000 to 9,000 commuting in for a decade or more. But the laboratory is going to hire another 5,500 people in the next 3 years. You're going to have even more people commuting on inadequate infrastructure. The only solution is to solve this problem of inadequate housing. And so I have a lot of experience dealing with bureaucrats. I didn't go there once a year for 4 years. I have spent much of my career in Washington dealing with senior levels of Department of Defense, Department of Energy, Department of State. I spent 3 years as an international negotiator with 26 nations, the Russians and all of the Warsaw Pact, Britain and all of the NATO Pact, and I have a lot of experience doing this. I think that it is doable. That's the only reason that I'm running for council. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gary. Teresa?
Thank you. I went last Thursday to talk to the high school at the little iVote meeting during lunch. And I decided when I had 2 minutes left to ask them a question, since they were asking me questions the whole time. And I said, I've heard that kids in this town don't want to work, and you wouldn't believe the number of eye rolls I got in that room. There were about 20 kids. And you know, we have this opinion that kids up here don't want to work. So what's keeping them from working? Are we allowing them to adjust their schedules so that they can work? I want to follow up on that and find out what is it. I mean, they'll work during the summer. You saw places like in town that said, hey, all our summer help is going back to school. We need more help during the school year. So there's got to be a way that we can work that. There's also the UNMLA. We've got trades over here. If we need welders, if we need electricians, let's talk to UNMLA and get them to beef up their program. Is there a way that businesses can help? I went to the job fair last week, and there are businesses that are hiring kids right out of high school. You don't have to go and get an education. Don't let the kids leave this town. That's the first thing they want to do when they graduate. Don't let them leave. Let them know that there's something here for them. I also think that we need to look at a regional, look at Espanola. At UNMLA, we developed a radiological control technician program when I was at the laboratory. Why? Because we wanted to recruit locally. I got tired of having to answer the question, where am I going to live, when we were recruiting people from outside of New Mexico. Local talent is here. We just need to recruit it. We need to know what you all need, and then we need to set up a program to give us that pipeline. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you, Teresa.
Melanie?
Regarding business recruitment, there are new issues due to the pandemic. The past 2 or 3 years. There's less staff available, so schedules and wait times increase to handle the demand, which is exemplified by long lines at Smith's Pharmacy to pick up a prescription. Landow, the county, local businesses, and small businesses are all competing for resources between each other. Small businesses have the biggest challenge to find and retain workers. They depend on income from customers to be successful and profitable. One ongoing frustration for small businesses is spending time and money to train employees who are later hired by other companies in town who have higher wages and better benefits. A small business must start all over again, finding and training new workers, yet still remain competitive to obtain contracts and provide products that are priced equitably with their advantaged larger companies or competitors. From a small business perspective, those larger companies who look at the trained resources of small businesses should consider whether hiring away their employees only shoots our county in the foot. Los Alamos County efforts coordinate between the County Economic Development Department, LACDC, Chamber of Commerce, Main Street, and the UNM Small Business Development Center to help attract, retain, and build businesses of the future. I want to support all these organizations and their people who work so hard for our town's success. I will turn to these experts to help me make sound decisions because although I have some experience, it is our teamwork that keeps us successful.
Thank you. Susan?
Pardon me. Thanks for the question. I think this is a really important issue as I've been out talking with people, whether it's residents and or small business owners. The lack of employees at our small businesses is really hurting the quality of life that we enjoy here in Los Alamos. This was a problem back when I was at the Chamber of Commerce 25 years ago. And I think we also have to kind of think that one of the root causes is really the pretty elephant in the room, which is the laboratory, which pays so well with great benefits. And that's hard for businesses on this side of the bridge to compete with. I know we competed with that at RE/MAX, and the way we handled that was we just paid really, really, really well. But that's not a decision that all small businesses, especially ones who are just trying to get on their feet, that's not a challenge they can all meet. I think I agree with, I think it was Teresa maybe who said we need to be thinking regionally on this. And one way to help solve that would be transportation and trying to work on a transit center where we can effectively bring people up to Los Alamos in a way that is easy to navigate and that fits different schedules would be really helpful. I've also talked with high school kids and the director of the teen center, and I've heard that some of our larger employers on this side of the bridge, such as Smith's, are not as accommodating as maybe they might be with schedules that accommodate high school kids' schedules. I think it's super important that if we're going to have young people stay here after they graduate high school, it's kind of a chicken and egg thing. We really need to work on our vibrant downtown quality of life. I think there are jobs here for young people after they graduate high school, but it's not the lifestyle that they're seeking. So I think a lot of them tend to go to Albuquerque looking for that lifestyle. And I think so if we could somehow work out ways to help, that's a small business retention improvement issue, of course, but that all kind of fits in together as well. Of course, supporting UNMLA and Northern College in Espanola with training in the trades areas, that could help because I think the lack of training and education in some of the areas where workforce is needed is a challenge for us. And finally, just with my quality management background, we really need to get to the root causes, which is back to listening, pulling the key stakeholders together, really understanding why we have these workforce challenges, and really pulling together rather than acting as separate silos. I think a lot of people in this room and elsewhere are facing the same challenge, so let's work together to solve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Susie. Randall?
Yeah, well, thanks for the question. Yeah, I think that the idea is that lack of things to do. There's a lot here left and a lot of people in the community. And so I think if there were more things to do, that then relies on some things that the county can provide. But I'm thinking local businesses that really make a place unique. And so I think that's what I'd be looking to support. So as I mentioned, I think in my opening comments was, I'm looking to have more of a one-stop approach for small businesses, but I also want to make sure that we have metrics developed and that we're tracking and reporting on those on a regular basis to understand what progress we're making or not. So I think as a part of that, I would look to have enhanced job training opportunities. So we have examples already that are successful. So the county actually has the EMS program, Emergency Management Services program here at UNMLA. I think there's other opportunities, with the pandemic, and I think we're going to have now more in-person opportunities. I think that's another thing we should be looking at trying to do. And I think the other thing we could look at doing is trying to work on, expanding opportunities at UNMLA. And I think we ought to look broadly at what those options might be in the future. Some other communities like Carlsbad actually have their own campus that is funded locally. So that's something I think we could look at. That's a pretty different idea. I think if we had more students at UNMLA, there would be another population in addition to the high school students that we've heard about already. So I think that's an important thing to look at too. And I think there's also just a general idea of recruitment and retention. We've heard about compensation already. So that's another thing to look at. I think that's something that, as on the county, we're looking at the same issues with competition from across the bridge, losing certain key specialties and to the laboratory. And so the county is in a position to do that. As we heard, that not all small businesses are in a position to do that. But I think that if we can make more options available for people in the community, I think that's better. I think also, yes, I'm out, so.
Thank you, Randall. So you actually got out in front of me on that one. The next question is about business recruitment and retention. So you can skip this one if you want to. Chair Reddy, it's up to you. But this question about business and recruitment and retention, let me lead with this. The Los Alamos Chamber of Commerce and Main Street programs have spearheaded the Los Alamos Business Accelerator for a second year, with 16 applicants admitted into our 2022 cohort. Last year we had 11 graduates who went on to start 4 businesses in town. We've really been trying to pull the locals out of the woodwork to prepare and support them in their entrepreneurial endeavors to increase their confidence and de-risk the process of starting a retail storefront. Besides the growth in online shopping over the past 2 decades, what barriers do you identify in our community to both recruiting new businesses as well as retaining and supporting our current small businesses? And how would you address these challenges as a counselor? Why don't we start with Susie and we'll come back around. Again, please do stand up for these. Thank you. Great.
Regarding recruitment and retention, I think first of all, I would focus on retention. While we do need to recruit and to kind of fill that need, we said for a more vibrant community, maybe to fill some gaps where we have needs, I think it's really important that we support the investments that we've already made. And I also believe in that adage that activity begets activity. So if the businesses we have here already are successful and thriving, that will then encourage other businesses to say, hey, that's a bump in place, I want to go be there. And I also think it's really demoralizing for all of us, the business community, the Chamber of Commerce, us as residents and consumers here, when businesses don't make it. And we feel like they're kind of operating on a shoestring. I think it kind of creates a little bit of anxiety in the community. At least that's been my observation. So I think we need to continue to support programs and events that keep customers in town, leverage the tourism opportunities that we have, and also focus on workforce issues. I think there's some specific things we can do maybe from the county, and one of those could be in the procurement area. Could we do more to say that, hey, we're going to set a percentage requirement that says 10% of all county procurement has to be from businesses who are local. I know that the laboratory does that, or at least they were doing that as of a couple of years ago, and I believe that's probably still the case. So could we be doing that? And if we are doing that, then let's make that more public and let's put those metrics out there for all to see. Could we also then, when the county's issuing RFPs, could there be some favorable preference to local businesses where they get kind of a little bump up? I know the laboratory does that as well. So those are some ways maybe that the county can help kind of support our local businesses. There's no doubt that we need to work on the issues of business permitting and licensing and just making it easier for our small businesses to work with the county. And it's not just our small businesses, it's also residents, homeowners, because I learned that as a realtor, and contractors who are trying to make improvements to property here. But it's got to be easier. I think everyone knows that that's another elephant in the room. And I know that the county has also has the funding and is out recruiting as we speak for a new economic development program manager who will kind of serve as an ombudsman and someone to help handhold people through that process. There's a lot more to say on that, but thank you.
Thank you, Susie. Melanie?
I wrote notes because I don't want to miss any of the important points that I remember when I'm thinking about this subject. But basically, I have to re-emphasize that Los Alamos County is experiencing diminishing resources for just about every business entity in the county. Even nationwide, the news called our diminishing resource crisis the Great Resignation, so this is not anything new. I just recently heard something on, I think it was 60 Minutes or Sunday Morning, where they had an article about Jacksonville, Wyoming, and it sounded so similar to what we're experiencing here. So I don't think we're alone. Because of the additional high demand for workers, there is much competition for workers, as I have already mentioned. And many are demanding higher salaries to move to another job. Some small businesses are having to raise salaries to attract people, since commuting longer distances is a possibility for many who want to work in Los Alamos County. I have been working regularly through Jonah Manufacturing with an online job recruiting agency over the last several months, and they are helping me develop more ways to find and attract workers to move to the Los Alamos area. Some positions require advertising and recruiting in other states, with sign-on bonuses, paid travel, lodging to visit the work site before signing up, and higher wages to get employees motivated to move to an area with challenging regional housing resources. Even then, when they visit the area, there are situations where potential employees look at the details to move here and turn down the position. For Lano, who typically pays the best in comparison to other jobs, those jobs are coveted by many of the service personnel available. Higher paid employees have the best choice and more options for housing within the community, and unless some housing is reserved for other employers, local businesses and small businesses, they have the biggest challenge to find local housing for their workers. Well, that's it.
Thank you.
Oh, one more sentence. I just want to, it might be attractive with increasing gas prices to provide more convenient and low-cost mass transit from towns across the region where employees might live.
Thank you very much. Teresa?
So, I know this isn't going to be popular, but, I think we need to understand what the community wants. So I'm just going to throw this word out there, survey. Find out from the community, what kinds of businesses do we want? I've heard some people say, there's no place to buy clothes. Okay, you're right. Well, there is Smith's. There's actually a home business called Cabby, where women can go and try on clothing at this woman's home. It's high-end clothing, but maybe there's other opportunities for businesses like that to operate out of their homes. We have home child care. There's a variety of things that are out there that people are operating that are not necessarily the brick and mortar kinds of businesses that maybe we've been used to in the past. If we want restaurants, we want more variety. One of the things that you see in Los Alamos are some restaurants that have another location that they use as kind of an anchor, and then they have a business up here in addition to that. El Parasol comes to mind. So maybe the thing to do is not necessarily recruit some of these small fast food chains, but go to businesses that are successful off the hill and see if they want to start another business up here in Los Alamos. We've had a couple of businesses that have started out as mobile food trucks and are now operating as brick and mortar. Let's have those things are very successful in some towns. Let's have a mobile food truck area, and let's start recruiting food trucks up here, and have a place for us to eat and enjoy each other's company. I think that actually would attract a lot of our younger folks. Business fairs, before we go to business fairs, I think we need to know what we want to try to bring back to Los Alamos. What is it that we can bring here? We've had somewhat of a stagnant population, so I think that keeps some businesses from coming here. You know, at the Unitarian Church, one of the things, before we built our new church, they were extremely surprised by the level of support for that, mainly the level of financial support. I don't think people understand the amount of money that is available in this town to support businesses. So just a thought, we're different, let's try to get out there and recruit some things that we want as a community. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. Gary?
See if I can propose something that everybody agrees with. Water flows downhill. Head nods. Yeah, the ski hill is desperate for a way to get water up to the retaining pond so they can make snow in the wintertime. They want to pump. All we've heard this morning is about pumping water uphill. But folks who understand that water flows downhill can do irrigation, and they can make hydroelectric power. We have to appreciate the economic principles that enable businesses to function effectively. And that brings us right back to the demographic, to housing. There is a lot of money in Los Alamos. People would love to have businesses here. They would start businesses here. They'd find out what the people in the community want, because they'd love to have the richest per capita community in the nation as their clientele. But there is nobody to do the work. The missing demographic is really the critical issue. And you heard some insightful things of stuff that could be done to enhance it, but most of them have to do with subsidies. Whether you say we have to spend the money locally, or whether you say we have to reserve a segment of the housing for local folks in the county or for certain businesses, that is all pumping water uphill. You want a situation in which the water naturally flows into Los Alamos, where the people are here, the businesses are here. I assure you that we would have all kinds of businesses here if there were a way for them to come and be effective. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gary. Sharon?
So part of my discussion was going to be how awesome the Chamber of Commerce has been doing with the accelerator programs. I know of a few people who were able to open their businesses because of that, so I think
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I believe there's also county, like you were saying, there are county funds available that people can get into businesses. The surfing case has set a pretty sad precedent for some businesses in Los Alamos, and as I've been campaigning and speaking with people door to door, some people have said, I am not going to open a business and risk all of the money that I have to get started based on the information that they have heard how hard it is sometimes to get a business to open. Or particularly like Susie was saying, even with homes, you know, the code issues and things like that, it's like perhaps it would be good for the county to put together a listing of here's what's expected, here's what a new business would need to have, or new business, new buildings. People move into homes and don't realize they can't update their homes because now there's a reason why. So I feel like more communication would be good to the new businesses. And I feel like that the county, I'd like to see us work with them to help them find ways why they can. Here's how I can help you open your business. Here's how I can help you overcome these obstacles, rather than, sorry, there's an obstacle, until you fix it, we can't help you. So I guess I'd like to have more communication with the county and have more customer service be available. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mary. James?
All right.
retaining businesses, I'm going to use like Florida Lee as an example of a business we failed to retain. They were a very successful business. Basically, they wanted to grow. They wanted to own their own property because leases increase in price and they cut into your revenues. So owning property is a huge thing. We can do it. I know not every business owner wants to own. Some are happy leasing, and that's fine. But a lot of businesses leave because they can't own their own property. And Florida Lee is a great example, right? They started as a French market and they wanted to be able to cook. This is going back to this whole transparency and accountability and working with our businesses issue that, we need to enable businesses to be able to grow and expand and do what they want to do, what their passion is, to be able to, generate more money, grow, hire more employees, and we can't make it difficult for them. So, Florida Lee has a number of things that went wrong there. They couldn't find property to own. We need to develop property for businesses. 20th Street, right? That land that's sitting out there. Why don't we there's 6 parcels there. We already decided it's worth $1.8 million. Let's just publicly auction it, start the bid at $300,000 a piece, and let local business owners own a piece of Los Alamos. That's what develops people is enabling them to put down roots. I know we have local business owners that are looking at developing that property, and I'm really glad to see that we're not just going to another big out-of-area developer, that we're actually hopefully going to work with our local business owners on that 20th Street stuff. More things like that. I think with the code updates, we're going to attract more developers. They're going to be able to develop more spaces. That's a huge barrier to opening a business. I think that kind of covers it. The Smiths thing, they're displacing businesses over there. That's another thing I wanted to mention. Where are those businesses going to go? So we need to be thinking about those kind of things. We really need to be embracing growth.
Thank you, James. Randall?
Okay, so thank you for the questions. I think I look at this in 2 different time frames. So we have the short term, probably continuing, and we got things that are probably longer term. So I think the short term prospects are really having to do with the county's role as the economic development administrator, and we approved another position for what I call a business advocate. And we also have tourism in that group as well. So we have 3 people there. And so that's like I go back to the thing we need to have, what are the metrics for this group, how are we reporting, and how are we showing progress, what things are working, what things aren't working. I think also in the very short term, and something that's already come out this year, is the ARPA funds, the federal funds that have been available. So that's another thing that the county has been looking at doing. And I think that's going to support local businesses as well. Let's see. Then getting into the longer term part, that's some of the other things. So, vacant lots, that's going to take a while to develop those. I was actually the one that brought to council the idea that we would have a business owner that's previous interested in one of the parcels on 20th Street, have them an opportunity to look at that again, look at doing a project there. And so I was very pleased the council is going forward so far with that. And I think also just understanding what the community wants to see. I think the community would like to see probably a lot of small businesses have opportunity for space out on 20th Street. So that's going to be a longer term thing. It's going to take some time to get projects done. But I like to see that, again, if we have a one-stop approach, hopefully that can occur in a very timely manner. We also have on DP Road, we have some lots that are going to be available. Once the Department of Energy and Environmental Management has done with their assessment of the middle DP Road site. So that's also another area that would be primed for some businesses to either relocate, it would provide free up some other space in town, or new businesses to come into town. And so I think that's the appropriate use. That's an industrial area, and I think that it should be industrial along that area. And it was split up into a lot of different lots. That'd be more manageable for businesses to potentially bid on and get a project going. So I think that's all I have.
Great, thank you. All right, final question. Incentivizing commercial development. Los Alamos County is at a critical turning point in terms of commercial and residential development, with major properties currently vacant and/or with developer interest, including the Merrimack property, Hilltop House in the process of being demolished, as well as the former CD Fox department store, among others. Just this week, council adopted a resolution to accept the Metropolitan Redevelopment Area Plan in White Rock to likewise encourage development in that Main Street district along State Road 4. In your role as a counselor, how would your work with the county staff and other community organizations like the Chamber and LACDC to incentivize and help direct development that is beneficial to our business community and our residents? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
All right, Melanie.
Started the clock yet?
Yeah, now.
Okay. The county currently has several processes and organizations to incentivize businesses in commercial development. The New Mexico state level forwards leads to regional and local entities. Los Alamos County seeks out businesses and developers, and businesses and developers approach Los Alamos County. Some of the programs that the county offers include a set of comprehensive programs utilizing local, regional, state, and federal funding and assistance resources that support and incentivize investment in new and existing businesses in Los Alamos County, such as Local Economic Development Act, CLEDA, American Rescue Plan Act, which is ARPA, and Metropolitan Redevelopment Area, which is MRA. The county recently announced the MRA development, as Rin just mentioned. Also, the Economic Department of Los Alamos County just released a poster that shows 27 new businesses that have developed for Los Alamos County since 2021, and will be, some of them are still in the process of opening, but should be open by the end of 2022. The county revised the comprehensive plan with mixed-use zones to allow a combination of small shops with residential. The concept is moving toward implementation with several developers already. Developers describe these mixed-use developments as providing convenience services to tenants of the properties, which can hopefully increase business success and profitability. I support all these methods for incentivizing development.
Thank you very much. Teresa.
So yeah, ditto. The one thing that I don't think Melanie mentioned is the Chapter 16 redevelopment code update. The intent of that is to help incentivize business in the area. Building up rather than out will help with some developers being more profitable and willing to develop, for example, the Merrimack area. I think getting the community behind the Merrimack redevelopment is important. Heard some negative things already. It's like, where are those businesses that are there now going to go? Well, one's already moving. Others have moved because the building that they're in is leaking and is substandard. So, and the developers proposing to keep the leases for the auto parts store and the pub and honor those for the next 5 years, plus or minus, that they still have on their lease. So the nice thing about that is it's a local developer. It's somebody that has roots in northern New Mexico, and it's someone that I believe will listen to the community if we approach them in a positive way. If the first thing you hear from people is, oh, they're just going to put storage in Smith's, in the old Smith's, let's get a little more information before we form negative opinions, and let's help incentivize what's going on in this town. So chapter 16, I think, is really important. It's kind of the end of a 2-year journey by the council to better understand what we want to do with our downtown areas, both in White Rock and in Los Alamos. You know, we're going to be doing trick or treat on Main Street. If you made those kids walk to every business in this town and not have the businesses get there, part of the problem is we don't know where all our businesses are. And I think getting the word out and helping people understand where everything is in this town is really important. So thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. Gary?
Thank you. Well, I really support the things that have been said about incentivizing businesses and encouraging businesses and helping businesses. And I think that's our job as a Chamber of Commerce and as a county council to help and support our small businesses, certainly not to discourage them, and heaven's sake, to not drive them out of town. But in a sense, this is an activity of rearranging the deck chairs. And until we identify and deal with the core problem, we will continue on the trajectory that this town has been on in the 41 years that I've been here. We heard about all of the businesses, the entertainment facilities and so on, that used to be in Los Alamos and that are gone. And I see nothing, and I've heard nothing, that says that those things are going to come back unless we solve the fundamental demographic problem. The people who will staff the businesses, the people who will start the businesses, and the people who will support the businesses by their patronage. We have to do that. And so yes, let's do the work, the near-term work of helping the businesses thrive in the community using all of the incentives we talked about. But the water needs to flow downhill, and the way that we do that is we provide housing for the thousands and thousands of people who would be working for us in the county, not just those that can come in and work for the laboratory. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Gary. Cheryl?
Well, I am really happy to hear about what's happening with the metropolitan redevelopment area and the fact that we can now get money to people without having to pay anti-donation costs. I feel like that the way we can work together, I mean, the Chamber of Commerce is doing a lot, I think, communication between all of these organizations is, I think it's already happening. We're seeing a lot of results happen in our community. And I see that we're making special use permits for people in order so that they can move forward and have their businesses be able to be operational. I know that there's, like you were saying, there's leader money, there's money available so that we can encourage people to do a business. I feel like if we could communicate what's available, I don't know how we can do that other than people coming to your website, but maybe even putting it in the paper. Do you know that here are ways new businesses can operate in Los Alamos? So I feel like if we just have good communication, we could encourage a lot more. And I'm not sure all the ways to do it, but I was not aware that we have all of these businesses, new businesses in our community. So maybe we need a little signboard like we go to the mall that says, go here, here's our businesses. So anyway, thanks.
Thank you very much, Cheryl. James?
Well, on that note, I'll just do a little plug for Liz and Mark knows the ambassador program. That, if you're not aware of it, it's a way for businesses to refer people to other businesses. So when you have like tourists coming into town and they come in and they want to know where to get a good beer or get their bike fixed or whatever else, that program is supposed to help businesses work together to hopefully figure out where businesses are. So on the development thing, I think what's going on with the Old Smiths is a great place to discuss. I like what Teresa said, that we need to support development. I know that we hate the idea of big developers coming in and just having their way. But this is kind of like one of those cases where if you can't beat them, join them. You're not going to beat them so we need to figure out how we can use that as an opportunity. My understanding of that particular developer is they like to move in, lock in property, and then they'll kind of sit on it until they have like a good plan for it. So that's where we need to, take responsibility and come up with a plan for them. Entrepreneurs, that want to do something with the space, start reaching out to them. The Lowe's in Santa Fe, they took like 20 years to build that. So I believe they could sit on that for 20 years and just have a panel warehouse there. I was not totally happy with how the special use permit went. I think there should have been some time restrictions on it. We need to light fires under these developers' butts. And I think one way is ensuring that there's time restrictions on special use permits, not giving them property tax abatements. I think they will develop if we give them the opportunity to develop. That's the big thing.
There is a time restriction.
On the sub? Okay, I stand corrected. It's a 5-year?
5.5 years.
5.5.
All right, cool.
Okay. Thank you, James. Okay. Randall?
Okay, so I think the question was about commercial development, right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. So I think we've already heard a lot about the changes to the code, which are still in progress, so they're not approved yet. But we can look at some of the things that are in there. So I think it's the height limits and the reduced parking are the two things that are in the code to incentivize development. I think associated with that, in the MRA zone, there are projects where the county can partner, so tax credits or infrastructure improvements. And then if the county is a partner, the county can have some requirements on the projects. Things like having customer-facing businesses on the ground floor, or having some measure of affordable housing. But outside the MRA zone, and if the county's not directly involved, then we have just the code to rely on. And so currently, I would just say that there are certain things the community does want to see. If we want to incentivize buildings that can be 85 feet tall, and if there's a requirement we'd like to see, like customer-facing, properties on the ground floor, then that has to be somewhere in the code to make that requirement actually happen. So that's the thing I'd point out. And so that's still in progress. I think that's good for the community to be aware of that and to think about what they do want. And then personally, I'm in favor if we do come up with projects in the MRA zone that look at things like that have customer-facing businesses on the ground floor. We have some affordable housing that makes that sense of that project. I'm all for doing that. Another thing that the county can currently do is with the changes to LEDA, is retail is now included in LEDA, and so if a business owner is interested in that opportunity, or if a business owner, they don't own their building that they're in, but they can partner with a property owner, they can come forward with a project, and I'd be very much in favor of a project that does partner with a local business and local property owner to kind of make something happen that's beneficial to the community. And I already mentioned in the last answer, I guess I'm jumping ahead on each one, but we talked about the lots on 20th Street. Obviously, that's another case where we have the county has that land now back, and we can look at options there.
Thank you very much, Randall. Susie?
Well, ditto almost everything that's been said. That's one thing about going last. But I do want to emphasize again the fact that the county is in the process of hiring an economic development program manager. And I really do think this will help incentivize more commercial development. It will certainly help, I think, with breaking down barriers, removing obstacles, hand-holding small business entrepreneurs and commercial developers navigate our processes here in the county, which have been a challenge for a long time. There's no doubt that's a problem we need to resolve. That person's also going to help with the business licensing and permitting process, help with resources, utilizing grants, partnering with the Chamber of Commerce and the CDC, and act as an ombudsman. There's no doubt that we've got opportunities ahead of us now with LEDA and the MRA zone in White Rock. We've got opportunities with broadband. So I hope all of you have done your survey, because I think that's a key element that commercial developers are going to be looking for. Traffic flow, a transit center, beautification of our downtown is a way that the county can help. And I know the Chamber of Commerce and Main Street programs assist with that. And did I say downtown transit center? I'm sorry. And I think it's important that we be willing to challenge the norms and the status quo. I think it's important that we be supportive of new ideas. And I think it's important that we get the facts before we formulate opinions, that we make sure that we're informed. And so I think it's important that we understand really what's being talked about at the Merrimack Center. In my 6 months of campaigning, and prior to that, The big thing that everybody hates in town is Merrimack and the old SNIS. So now we've got an opportunity for something positive to potentially happen there. And rather than jumping to conclusions that it's some big bad developer who's just going to do storage for the lab with no time constraints, I think it's really important that we know what we're talking about and that we be open to some of the possibilities there, and then give input, participate, because nothing's a done deal yet, and we all have a chance to give our ideas heard. I think the county can also help with updating our aging infrastructure. Commercial developers, that's something else they look for. And I also just want to add that commercial developers are necessary here because they have the bonding capacity and the financial resources to do what's needed to be done. That's not something that some of our local entrepreneurs have the ability to do. So rather than seeing them as the enemy, we need to figure out ways to partner and look for the betterment of our entire community. Thank you very much, everybody.
Great. Thank you very much. Now we will quickly do our closing statements. You each have 2 minutes. Gary, why don't we just start with you?
I'm a fifth-generation New Mexican. My great-great-grandfather moved here in the late 1890s, and my family has been involved in northern New Mexico and western New Mexico during that time. I came to Los Alamos 41 years ago. I grew up in Belen. I remember driving past the 502 exit up to Los Alamos as a child and thinking, oh my gosh, that's the Los Alamos I've read of. Well, it's been great living here and working at the laboratory for all of this time. And I really love this town. You heard my points that the key issue, if you're treating a disease, you need to understand what the core issue is and deal with that and not cosmetic issues. I think that the things we've heard today from the other candidates are excellent. They're people of understanding. They're quality people. But if it's business as usual, if it's no more than 1,000 new houses, if it's let's just follow the plan we've been following, the trajectory that we're on will continue downhill, and it will not be good for you as business people. Please support me as a candidate for county council. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Sure.
So I believe most of us love Los Alamos. I know that the younger generation might not be feeling the same way at the moment, but I was that person and we came back. All my kids have left and they're all back in Los Alamos. So I am very excited about all the ideas that we're a neat town and we can make this work and we have a lot going for us. So I just really appreciate the opportunity to serve our community, to get the input that we need and move forward. And I look forward to working with any of us that get on county council together. So thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Go ahead, James.
So, any other community would kill to have what we have, right? We have healthy, wealthy, educated population, we have no crime, we have no pollution, arguably no traffic, rich history, both ancient and modern culture. The outdoor spaces are unbeat. We have all of the ingredients to have a successful community, and I think what Gary said is that if we keep on the same path, we're just never going to grow. So we really need to be thinking about new ideas. We need to embrace growth, and kind of be a little less risk averse, I think, is the thing. So yeah, just being supportive of new ideas, new businesses, new entrepreneurs. The steps we're taking right now are in the right direction, and we just need to keep going with that and move more fast.
Thank you very much. Randy?
Yeah, well, thanks for everybody for being here today. And I just want to say I'll continue to work to find solutions on challenging problems like local business and housing. And I've learned a lot from projects we've been completed or nearing completion, and including the potential for obstacles along the way. My past experience and lessons learned the last 4 years will guide me to continue to make informed decisions for the community that are practical and feasible. I support the careful and pragmatic development or redevelopment of available and underutilized land and buildings in the county to best meets the community. First, looking at specific demographics such as the missing middle, seniors, and those who qualify for income-based affordable housing, instead of rushing to approve as much housing as possible. Now, those of you who know me know I'm big on transparency. I expect that I expect the same of everyone else, and I'll ask the council and staff be available to answer questions or provide documents without bureaucratic obstacles, and continue to have multiple methods to communicate with council, and include additional methods like having a web portal for agenda item comments. I also continue to work on implementing a customer focus. This is one of the goals that the new county manager had, who's been on job now for about a year and a half. And I feel like people should have an advocate working for them on their behalf in the county, and that's someone that's mainly presenting obstacles or lots of questions. Thanks again to the Chamber for the opportunity to speak today, and I'm excited about the opportunity to engage with people during the campaign. And I'm Randall Ruddy, and I ask for your vote for the County Council.
Thank you, Randall. Susie?
Thanks again for being here and for caring and being civically engaged. I think it's really important. I've been a teenager, a parent, and a daughter of aging parents here in Los Alamos. I've experienced Los Alamos and White Rock through a multitude of lenses, and I hope that those diverse perspectives will be helpful to the county council, and the business community, which leads me to you. I do want to hear your perspectives. A vibrant business community is very important to me. I want Los Alamos to be a place where our kids and our grandkids want to return to. That's really important to me too. And it's essential that our county government act as an enabling partner in helping start and grow our businesses. Listening and learning are essential as we work together to address not only today's issues, but tomorrow's as well. I think I've got the background and the skills to adapt, listen, learn, and lead. Again, my name is Susie Havman, and I hope to earn your vote for Los Alamos County Council. Thanks again for being here.
Thank you, Susie. Melanie?
As an appointed counselor who has had many opportunities to experience different parts of the county decision-making hierarchy, I believe an effective county counselor works with all people who have a stake in the decision. There are good resources available to help a county counselor make sound decisions, including county-appointed board members who are partisan balanced and selected from the public. There's also consultants, and the county performs a citizen survey every 2 years, which is statistically valid. From what I have seen, there has been honest hard work by the county council, county staff, community organizations, county boards and committees, and citizens of the community to help solve problems and make our community a better place. Before I criticize the county, I first need to understand what has been done and why something is hard to change. Many talented and smart people have been county counselors in the past, and I am confident that every single one of them had the best intentions to improve our county for the citizens who live here. To fault any one counselor or all counselors who are part of a majority vote could be taken as an insult to all the supporting organizations and citizens who work to make those decisions happen. I hope that new members elected to county council can listen and learn more and work with all other contributors that help the county move forward. I'm Melanie Hand, an advocate for successful businesses and protecting our quality of life in Los Alamos.
Thank you, Melanie. And Teresa?
Yeah, get the last word. No, I really appreciate the Chamber of Commerce for putting this on this morning. And I also appreciate you promoting yourself, because I had a lot of stuff to talk about with regard to what's going on in the Chamber and supporting small businesses. A lot more than I knew about prior to my candidacy. I am learning so much more about Los Alamos kind of behind the scenes than what I see up front, like most people, right? There's a lot more that goes on in the county than I think any of us realizes, and a lot more that has to be done a certain way. There are restrictions on what you can and can't do, but there's also ways to facilitate getting things done. And I think the business development program manager that was mentioned is a good approach for the county to start helping businesses actually get started. Also the accelerator program, just educating business entrepreneurs in what they need to do to be successful in the county is really important. I've raised 2 children here. You know, I get advice all the time from my kids about what we really need. You know, I do sometimes have to roll my eyes at that, but it's good input. And you know, listening to what people have to say about what they think they want for this community is really important, no matter how outlandish maybe some of those ideas seem. So I am a good listener. At least I think I am. Getting up here and talking to you is not my strength. Listening to you is my strength. And following up on the suggestions and the ideas that the community has and the small businesses have, I think is extremely important. I'm Teresa Call. I would appreciate your vote this fall or tomorrow, today, for County Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa, and thank you to all of our candidates. I'm always overwhelmed that you guys will put yourselves out there like this and serve our community, and I sincerely thank you.
Thank you.